Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Martin Luk Derome with us today, aka Martin Luk Derome. I think that's how English people pronounce it. Martin is live from Brassard, which is near Montreal, south of Montreal, headquartered in Greenfield Park, which is where I was born precisely, and has also offices in Winnipeg. You told me, right?
Yeah, Winnipeg and Montreal.
Very interesting career that Martin had so far. Serial entrepreneur, had various franchises. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the mergers and acquisition consultancy firm that he has, Queenston, and gonna have a lot of fun today. This podcast is brought to you by my podcasting company, which is podpire.com. If you're seeking to start, scale, be invited to a podcast like this one, find sponsors, word to monetize into podcasting. So a lot of podcasts, they die after 5-10 episodes because people cannot monetize them. That is quite sad because podcasts are great to learn, to grow your network, to also grow your net worth, because you can get a lot of clients from podcasting, believe it or not. So podpire.com for that. Martin, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about what you're up to nowadays.
Thank you, Charles, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Bonjour to everyone. So as they said, English people would say Martin Luk. It's a French name, but I try to speak English. So I was at Ottawa University doing my degree in finance when my dad had a serious heart attack and my mom called me when I took over his business. That was Real's truck stop at the border. So I moved in and it was a 4.7 million business. And 10 years later, it was 30 million, 150 employees in the top 3 across North America. It was huge. Then I sold it to my 2 brothers. I left. And then end up owning franchise, Dunkin Donuts, Valentine, and the Shell gas station with Dippener. That was quite a challenge, just to learn to work, in the frame of those franchisees, that you can't turn left, you can't turn right before you ask, and so on. So it's a different ballgame. But it gave me a lot of expertise and experience for other businesses,
Wow, very cool. Okay, starting with the selling dad's business, that was quite impressive, and also how you grew it. And maybe I can get some pictures of Real Truck Stop, because I'm guessing it doesn't exist anymore as Real Truck Stop anymore, right?
No, what happened is that when I sold it to my 2 brothers and I left, I wanted to, go for other challenges.
Yeah.
They stayed together for a while, about 5 to 7 years, and then they sold it to Husky Oil from Alberta.
Okay.
And 3 years after they bought it, they closed it. They couldn't manage it. It was too big of an operation. They didn't know how to do it. Yeah. So they closed it, demolished everything. So you go by the highway, it was right at the border of Quebec and Ontario on Highway 401. All you see is a vacant land, nothing else.
Wow. So that was in the 90s. So truckers used to stop there, refuel their big trucks and refuel their own bodies with coffee, beer, food, and you could buy some memorabilia, I guess, and other stuff. So it's quite impressive, though, that you grew it to 150 business. So, I mean, it must have been pretty big. What else did you sell there?
Well, we had a garage. We had 11 bays for fuel for the trucks, We have gas. Then we had a big shop to buy some parts. We had a restaurant, a motel. We had a boutique so that the driver can buy some present for their family because they're always gone, And we had a hairdresser. We had a bank teller. We had everything. Each table, we were the first truck stop at each table. That was my idea, by the way, we installed a phone at the table. That was, a turn point. Well, driver will come in, order their meal. Now they didn't care if it takes 25 minutes to get their plate, because they could call their family, their friends, their wife. And they were all, so each table had a phone. And then we had those big TVs in the restaurant. It was quite a place.
Very impressive. Very
and
impressive.
how I grew that is that I used to be on the road all the time. Uh, I had my own car with a driver, and I was driving from PEI to almost, I wouldn't say Vancouver, but and visiting all those trucking companies. So my loss leader was the fuel. Once they come in to fuel the truck, they will go to the restaurant, shower, buy something, get their hair done, buy some parts, souvenirs, garage. So it was like, and I would have them come in with a very small profit and with time be able to increase my margin. And that's how we were profitable.
Very cool. How did it feel also to, at such a young age, be given the full reins of the business? You must have felt pretty stressed out at first.
Not when you're 20 years old, you're not stressed. It got
You're
all to
like
my head.
arrogant and I can do everything.
I was, and thanks to my friend Benoit and Pierre, that one night got me into a very quiet place with a couple of beer, and then they said, "You're gonna stop. We don't care about your money, what you're doing. We want you, and we don't want you to change." But I had the personality to be able to meet those presidents of large corporations. I was dealing with Robert Irving from the Irving family from the Maritimes, all these guys, the Macintosh and the rich people. So you had to be able to look at them eyes to eyes and not be nervous. That was me. I was okay with that.
That's also my personality. Dunkin Donuts, why did you decided to get into it? How many did you had, and why did you stop that in 95?
Uh, I wanted to buy a business that was different than what we were running before. So I don't know how I got involved, but I met someone that had 12 Dunkin' Donuts. He was a Chinese guy from Montreal. And I ended up buying one and opening some little branch. I had three other small branches, but it wasn't enough. To make profit with the Dunkin' Donut, you need at least 5 or 6 because the contracts requires you to have so many donuts. I don't know today, but years ago, you had minimum quantity of each donut of each different kind, and it cost a fortune because you throw them away. So you needed a lot of stores so you could divide your orders and send them all over. I didn't have that. So that's how I started the second, the third, and the fourth branches so that we can supply them and lower my costs. But it wasn't enough of a big challenge in management wise. So that's why I sold it and wanted to move to something else.
And that something else was finance, apparently. So why were you attracted to that field, and how did your story begin on that level?
One of my good friend, Michel Progin, which is gone today, I miss him every day. He said, "You come and work with me." And I said, "No, I'll never sell insurance, never." He called me at 1 o'clock in the morning. He said, "You come home now." So I said, "Michel, it's 1 o'clock." So anyway, I got there and he had his last 5 tax declaration on the counter and he says, "Look at them." So in 1990, he was earning between 125 to 175. And Michel wasn't working more than 15, 20 hours a week. So he convinced me he said, "Come in and work with me and I'll train you and I'll show you everything," which I did. And I'm still involved in the insurance business and the financial business. It was a decision. And thanks to Michel that he persisted in and convinced me to join it.
175K's worth today, probably, yeah, double or something around these lines. So it's pretty,
I would say 3 times easily.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very good salary.
Yeah.
Definitely affords you a Porsche and a nice house. A
And I
BMW.
always had in me, Charles, the dealer, a wheeling dealer. So I started as an advisor. Then I bought my MGA, which is the distributor. Then I bought a second one, a third one, and a fourth one, and a fifth one, and a sixth one. And then I sold it to Horizon Financial Group, John Hamilton, great gentleman, professional. He bought my MGA. I stayed with him for 5 years, and then I moved into a consultant, M&A consultant.
Wow. And how was that exit for you? Was it your first like big check that you, well, I mean, it must have been your second because first you sold the truck stop, but how game changing was it, that exit?
Uh, it was a game changer, but I liked the feeling. I had so much contact. My network was amazing. I didn't want to quit. So you just do the deal and then say, okay, what am I going to do? So I started, and then one of my friend that had an MG said, hey, you bought and sold a couple of them. Would you help me to sell mine? So I said, okay, let's work on yours. I sold his, and he was expecting a 3 to 4 million. We sold it for almost 7.2, you know. So and then I started a second one, then somebody else. And then I said, wow, why not just stay as a consultant and do M&A? That's what I like, helping people. And you know, today, like last October, I bought Quinston M&A. This is a well-known business across Canada. It's the only one that we do merger, acquisition, valuation, and transition of books across Canada. And what I like is either you start or you finish in your career path. We help, we contribute. And that's my slogan. Start or finish, we contribute. And that's me. I like to help people. So when someone calls in and said, I want to sell, I'm in. The other day I had an email, Charles, from someone says, would you call me? I got to sell my book for health reason. So I called him. That was a shock. Called the guy. We talk. He's 42 years old. Says, I got to sell my book. I'm managing 100 million, 98 to be exact. And I have 6 months to go. Brain cancer, two
Ouch.
kids. He's 42. He's got two kids, 10 and 12. And he says, what will I get? Will my value be affected? So then we talk strategy, how we're going to do it. And so I want to help. I was
My
almost
God.
crying. I was shocked. You know, you're 42 and you have 6 months to go. He says, I won't be able to do a transition with the buyer. Maybe I will. Well, I can't promise. I can't put in writing that I'll do it. Normally we ask for 12 months transition. So he wasn't sure he could do it, you know.
Yeah, it's so tragic. Yeah, I had a member of my mastermind, and his wife is about to pass away. I mean, I had a convo with him 3 months ago. He said 6 months. So yeah, life is really fragile, which is why I'm seeking to get really involved and deep into biohacking and longevity. That this is like my main calling. Nowadays, I'm working on the business that will build other businesses, but this is taking a while, you know, to crack the capitalist code, because money is can be used for impact, which is my ultimate um, goal. And yeah, in that case, this guy, he'll probably have to uh, elected some kind of trust, because yeah, I don't think you will be able to foresee the transaction. And yeah, it's quite tricky, right, to put the emotions aside here, because yeah, it's really tragic, 10 and 12 as children's. But the good news is that once he goes through with this, his children will have a nice payout, the funds, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
to
Yeah.
so
But it's just to tell you that, you know, I deal with all kind of situation. Met a father and a son and they want to sell the business. We're talking 40 to 50 million. And then the meeting after, meeting an advisor wants to sell a business, and if we get $500,000, he'll be impressed. So a client is a client. You can't judge because it's only a $500,000 transaction. You don't give him your attention and the quality of their service is expected. You know, so that is a kind of a challenge too.
yeah, or just these kids that are taking their parents' business first. It's hard to get them to do that. It's just like me and my wife talking business, you know, like it's sometimes it's not compatible. And sometimes also these children's with these businesses, they might fight over the business, or there might be a lot of tension. How do you generally deal with that on your side?
Yeah, well, if you look at my email signature, put my name, Martin Luk Derome, comma, CEO. I don't care about the title, Charles. Under my name, it says Chief Emotional Officer. That's who I am. And I don't pretend to be a tax specialist, a lawyer, a CPA, or whatever. I'm an emotional manager. I manage the emotions. Sometimes just a comma, and the seller will call me in panic. Whoa, 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 whoa. Calm down, cool down. We'll address it. Give me a minute. Just cool down. So I'm a chief emotional officer. That's my job.
That's also the experience I want to provide on this podcast, you know, like an outlet where people can talk freely and feel at ease and be asked great questions. Needs to feel like therapy almost. And that was my very next question with you. I mean, first, this business is complicated by nature. Sometimes it takes a lot of time. So on your end, you must
Mhm.
need a lot of patience. And second, yes, the clients, they must be pretty stressed, right? Because it's their baby. And sometimes, they might not get offers. Sometimes they might not want to sell or be very stressed out with the details of the transaction. So other than emotionally managing your clients, what does it take to be a successful M&A consultant?
Um, you need to be able to connect people, to really sense what you need. Um, like to do a transaction, I always say it's not like walking in Walmart and you buy something on the shelf and you pay and you go. You need to be, match the vision, make sure there's a vision, there's a fit of culture, business model, licensing, financing, and all that. So a good consultant will be someone with a huge network and be able to do, it's like we're a matchmaker, you know? And see, Joe, wow, this is a nice business. That would be a nice fit for Charles. And you need a couple of options in case this one doesn't want to go pay for. So, and work. I work a lot because there's things you can't delegate to your assistant, then there's things that's got to be done by you. So if you think you're going to succeed in 20 hours a week, I don't think that's the right recipe.
Right. Okay. Can because I'd like to actually get into that business myself eventually and so forth. So can I scale for example, I use cold email to reach out people that want to sell their business. So far, so good with that campaign. I also had multiple clients doing that. So I think I can scale that aspect to ask people to actually sell their business. Then I can ask on the other side of it, like if they'd like to buy a business, and I already know the profiles of folks that want to buy it. So I think I can scale that aspect too. If you get a client that wants to sell, how do you consult your network? Is it just by consulting your own brain? Or do you have a newsletter, for example, in which you can email out, hey, people, I have this internet marketing business located in Paris that may want to sell?
So we have on the website, we post all the listing for sale and the one for merging. And we have a database of 30,000 advisors across Canada. So we send them new listing, newsletter. We post them on the website and we try to push them to go on the website more and more because there's a search section. You can, parameters, whatever you want to look for by license, by AUM, by revenue, by region, by province. And because if you send too many emails, your database gets pissed off, so you got to be careful, find the right angle, the right number to send them in.
Right. Okay. And then once you have people interested in the transaction, do you have the gut level feeling nowadays of, okay, this guy is a really good buyer, or that's still disappointing and you don't know in the end who's really going to pull the trigger on a business?
That's a great question, Charles. You're totally on the target. We have a lot of advisors that will call and they can't afford it and they don't know what they want. So we're in the process of changing our process. We'll have on the website a listing and all the documents like the CIM, the financial projection, financial history, the valuation report, the fact sheet, and all that will be available, but they'll have to pay a small fee, $200, $300, $400, $500, and that will just push away the tire kickers, people that are not serious, and leave it for the one that really have the money, really have the process, they have the business model, they're ready to buy.
What is hot this year in terms of viable businesses? Because the economy has slowed down a little bit. People are less like trigger friendly nowadays, but I believe there's still businesses that are really hot. For example, AI businesses. In your case, might be also more traditional businesses, less like innovative AI front. But what sells really well this year in terms of business?
Wealth management is very hot on the market, IROC or MFDA or portfolio manager. Right, give you a nice one, 174 million, 35 household. That's $5 million per door. This is like a real star listing. On the buyer side, the interest rate didn't slow them down, but they're more selective and they want more quality because they have a higher interest rate. It costs them more money. So they're going to be more selective compared to before, where they would, okay, I'll buy those two. Now they'll say, which one's the best? They'll analyze a little bit more. So it didn't slow the number of transactions, but I would say it takes more time to close them.
Right. And then on the buyer side, like who's buying nowadays? Is it like people that have big nest eggs and we're just saving up and waiting for the downtimes to happen? Like what type of investors do you have nowadays?
We have the mid-sized firm and the individual advisor that like to grow his business. Mid-size are the one that have done 1 or 2 or 3, maybe 5 acquisition. They want to grow again. We don't deal too much with the big one. Usually the large corporation, they don't want to pay, and the process is way too long. So their due diligence is totally out of reach. It's like too much. So we try to focus with the mid and smaller one.
Right. How do you pick up good team members to make sure that your business can actually scale?
The brand is very solid, and some advisor will come to me. My goal is to have 1 or 2 consultants by province across Canada and then move to the States. Right now, I just signed 2 in the last 2 months. So we're 1, 2, we're 5 right now. I'm just signed them lately. So we're waiting to do all the investigation, sign the contract and all that. And then we're going to post them on the website and send an email out. So there's one coming out this week, another one next week, and the following week. So yeah, and I don't want to recruit too much. I want to make sure I onboard them properly and I give them the support that they expect, So maybe 8 was too much for this year. That's what I had in my budget. So now I got 5 and I'll stop for now. And next year I'll try to get another 3 or 4.
And you pay them a salary, it's not like commission?
No, full commission.
Okay, full commission.
Yeah,
Interesting. So let's say that they get 7.5 and you get 2.5 out of transactions.
yeah. So we charge the buyer advisor 9% for the first 2 million, 4.5 for the next 3, and then the next 5 would charge 2, and then 10 to 20 million would charge 1%, and then over 20 million, 0.5. Then we deduct our fixed costs, we deduct the lawyer's fees, and then we share according to the contract what's left.
Okay, and can be pretty life-changing amounts. So let's say that, yeah, an amount per company sold like 100K, 200K per deal done for them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they have a couple of those on a yearly basis.
See, there's a young guy, he's 24, and he wanted to really come into the M&A world, and he's a smart guy. His first deal will pay him about 65 net, so that he's quite excited. If he does 2 or 3 a year, it's more than he expected.
Yeah, it's a good life.
Yeah.
When it comes to consulting, because you also do consulting, what are the price ranges for these services and what do you provide exactly?
Like valuation report or fixed, we charge them $5,500. If it's a larger book, well, that will be a case. Well, we decide how much. And then if we have to do hourly rate, it's going to be in the range of $150 to $200, $50 an hour, depending on what we have to do. We'll try to give them a fixed price, or we go by the hour.
And that's 20% of the revenue of the business. The rest is straight up transactions.
I would say the highest one is the acquisition, then merger, then valuation and transition. We transfer between 500 million to 800 million of asset from one dealer to another dealer every year. This is like an advisor that is with Peak in Montreal and he's fed up. He wants to go with IPC. So we represent them like hockey players. We're kind of an agent for the hockey players. We go on the market, we negotiate, we represent them, we come back to the advisor, say, okay, we have 4 options, 5 options. Here's what they offer. Then we start the interview and we try to filter to make sure they fit into their organization, to make sure that the transition will be well done, So we do quite a transfer a year. And now we're starting to do headhunting services where advisor will call to have an in-sale assistant or a sales assistant or a CFO or a CEO or whatever, So we do that.
To me, it seems that one of the hottest niche in Canada right now is recruiting firms that help people immigrate to find work, although it seems that there is a cap to how much people the Canadian government can accept, and on a yearly basis there's a huge labor shortage there. What do you think of these businesses?
These are usually focused into the captive network, like Sun Life, Industrial Alliance, London. So these network will concentrate or focus their energies into those immigrants that come in. They will sometimes sign for them because they have a program and they're, really coach from day one until they succeed. So there's always a director, sales director to support them. There's somebody next to them.
Right. Well, Martin, thank you for the interview today. Where can people find out more about you?
Go on my website, wquinston.net. So 3w.quinston.net, and they'll find everything. They can reach me.
And I am Charles Cormier, your host of CEO Wisdom Podcast.com. That was Martin Luk Derome.